I've spent the last decade building my wealth and trying to build different businesses. And while some of these businesses have been successful, others have not. But there are a lot of lessons that I've gleaned from every project and business that I've taken part in. And so in this video, I'm going to break down 7 of the biggest takeaways that I've learned from these experiences. And some of these are Turo related, some are content related, while others are just general business or entrepreneurial related. Now, for those of you who don't know me, or maybe you don't know me well, I'm a car sharing host and a YouTuber who currently has a few businesses with my husband HP, which include things like an online product business, a service-based business here in DFW area, 2 rental properties, one of which is an Airbnb, the other is a long-term rental, a camper van we rent out, and a production company. On top of this, I owned a franchise in my early 20s. I worked in franchise consulting for nearly a decade, and more recently, I held the title of Director of Marketing, where I left that role to work 100% for myself. Lately, I've been doing a lot of self-reflection, and I've been thinking about some of the habits and things that I do on a day-to-day basis with my business that help move the growth dial. And so I wanted to combine some of the ones that I think have made a particular difference. So the first one is very niche, and it's really going to be targeted to those of you who have businesses on apps like Turo, Airbnb, VRBO, Outdoorsy, something like that. And that is that if you have a business on one of these platforms or on any app-based platform for that matter, you should be going into that app on a daily basis. This is incredibly important, and I have found this to be true with every single app-based business that I have ever owned. Go into your app daily. If you notice a lull in bookings and activity, go in, adjust your listing name, your photo order, your price, the description. Just make small adjustments here or there, and long and short term, this is going to help your performance. I do this with Turo all the time with pricing and snoozing and unsnoozing my vehicles specifically, and it works every single time. What I do is I go in the app, I drop my prices by a couple of dollars, and then I snooze and unsnooze my vehicle. I do this specifically whenever I have a lot of cars sitting or if I notice that a car hasn't had a booking, and almost instantly I see a booking come through. I have been doing this with years, and at this point, this is like proven. In the context of Turo, going in there, responding to messages quickly, tapping around the app, changing your settings, even if it's just a temporary change or even just adjusting your description, can help boost you in the Turo algorithm and can help you get more bookings. But believe it or not, this is not just a Turo hack, and you can actually do this on all of these app websites, Airbnb included. And with my Airbnb, I do the exact same thing. I can't tell you how often I've gone into my Airbnb and I will make a small, slight change, like changing the title from Beautiful Mountain Getaway to Scenic Mountain Getaway, and we get bookings within 24 hours. Sometimes with these businesses, particularly with Airbnb, you can make them pretty set it and forget it. This is especially true if you're like me and you use a price tool like Price Labs to help manage your Airbnb. You can make this extremely passive, but the reality is you need to make sure that you're going in there every single day, you're adjusting your settings, making minor adjustments, and you will see a significant improvement in performance across the board. Second is if you are interested in starting a business, I would highly encourage you to not only start that business, but also document the process of starting it on social media. For example, right here you can see our primary businesses, which for us is a production company, which is things like this YouTube channel, course content, just general social media or anything film related. We have our peer-to-peer car sharing fleet, which is things like our direct rentals, our camper van, Turo fleet, things like that. A few years ago, we bought a 29-foot RV. Now, this was technically a purchase that would fall under this umbrella, our car sharing fleet. However, because of the fact that we made videos with this RV, we were also able to use it to benefit this business as well. So we knew that even if this RV didn't work out, because of its kind of cross-business benefit, we could justify making this purchase. We bought an Airbnb, which is obviously an investment and a purchase for this business. However, whenever we go up there, we will frequently make videos. We made videos whenever we purchased it, and so there is an inherent benefit for this business as well. Again, this is an investment and a decision that benefited both of these businesses here. Let's get a Mako paint job for a car, which is something that benefits this business here. But let's record it and actually make a Mako paint review, which benefits this business here. Again, there is this cross-business benefit. Let's buy a tool for our fleet, and then let's make a review video of that tool. There are so many decisions that we've made over the years that we've essentially been able to justify, or at least have more confidence in making, because of the fact that they wouldn't only benefit one facet of our businesses, and it would actually benefit multiple. And whenever you create businesses that are sort of within the same ecosystem, or at least in the context of this video, you make videos documenting the business that you're doing, it allows for you to tap into potential opportunities that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise had. Not to mention the obvious benefits of social media, like the monetary gain that can come from it, as well as just the benefit of building a brand. Number 3 is a nice pivot from the previous topic, and that is that for the most part, things just take a lot longer than you probably think that they will. I find this true for not only the time that it takes to complete a project, but also the amount of hours that you have to work in order to see the dial move. I can't tell you how often I talk to people who, for example, in the context of Turo, they have one car, they've been a host for a couple of months, and then they reach out to me frustrated because they aren't making the progress that they want. But the reality is, one car or even a couple of months isn't enough to move the dial in a significant way. And unless you have a ton of money behind you, the truth is things are going to be slow and steady. But the same can be said in the context of hours worked. I can't remember where I heard this, but it was someone on social media talking about how what people don't realize is that ultra successful people, like people making multi six figures or even seven figures per year, are working a lot more than 40 hours per week. And I think about this frequently because I do think that it's true. And while I don't want to put myself on a pedestal of saying I'm an ultra successful person, I will use myself as an example because it's the only one that I can give, at least from firsthand experience. But I will say for myself, I work easily 70 to 90 hours per week. And oftentimes my days start at 5 a.m. and they really don't end until about 8 p.m. And I only have about 1 to 2 hours of downtime before I actually go to sleep. And sure, while some of this time working is spent doing sort of passive work, passive something else, like for example, working while on my laptop while I watch TV in the evening, I work an absolute ton. And truthfully, I think that this is one of the reasons why it's so important to find something that you like doing. It's not really like that trope that people think about where you need to do something that you love and the money will soon follow. Instead, you need to do something that you like because otherwise you will never put in the amount of hours of work that are needed in order to get ultra successful at that. A quote from Bill Gates that I think about a lot is that most people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. Number 4 is to track your finances and do this meticulously, not only with your business, but also with your personal life as well. Now, this is a hill I will absolutely die on, but I am a big believer that in order to have strong financials, you must have a deep understanding of where your money is going and where it's coming in. And I truly think that if there is only one thing that you take away from this list, it is this point. The bottom line is you will never know how your business is doing unless you track your finances. And whether you do this in a more polished and professional manner, like through QuickBooks, or if you do it through an app like Rocket Money, it really doesn't matter, though as your business grows, going with a more business-focused method will be helpful. But the bottom line is you must know how much you're spending, how much is coming in, and everything in between. I talk to a lot of people who tell me, oh, my side hustle just isn't making as much money as I would hope. But then whenever I ask them to send me their financials and we can help try to trim the fat, they don't have them. The reason why this is so incredibly important is I'm a big believer that if you aren't tracking your spending, there's a high likelihood that you're spending more than you think on purchases, both big and small. Not to mention only from like a metric standpoint, knowing how your business is performing puts you in a position to where you can help grow that business further. I challenge anyone who watches this video to track your finances for at least a quarter, and I would be willing to bet that you will see a dramatic improvement. Number 5 is to understand depreciation. Now, on the surface, this is a Turo tip, but in reality, this is useful for any person who ever buys a car. I am of the belief that if more people understood exactly how depreciation works, or more importantly, how it doesn't work, that people would change the types of cars that they buy, as well as how much they spend on the vehicles that they purchase. We ended 2024 with 39% of car loans being underwater, and about 1 in 4 people who had a trade-in had negative equity with that trade-in. And while there are many reasons as to why this has become such a major problem in the United States, I truly believe that one of them is just because people count depreciation as a required cost of owning a car. They think that if they buy a car, they have to have it depreciate, and there's really no way around this. But truthfully, this could not be further from the truth. And by buying a car that is a couple of years old that has already had the bulk of its depreciation, or alternatively buying a used car that doesn't have a high depreciation rate, it can allow for you to own a car at a very low cost or in some cases even in a free way. And to drive this point even further and to look at how impactful this is, let's take a look at a Chevy Tahoe LT 4-wheel drive. This car has an MSRP of $67,195 that equates to $1,079 car payment with $10,000 down, financed at 5% for 60 months. But you could buy a used 2021 model for $45,995 with under 40,000 miles, and with that same $10,000 down payment, financed for 5% for 60 months, your monthly payment is going to be $500 less per month at $679. Now, in this case, not only is the car less because it costs less, but it's also going to cost you less in depreciation long term because of the fact that it already had the bulk of its initial depreciation. And now you can take that same $500 per month and you can spend it on other things. For example, you can invest that $500 per month and have close to $35,000 at the end of that same 60 months. Now imagine this, but a lifetime worth of car loans, trade-ins, and possible negative equity, and this is hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars in opportunity cost. If you're starting a Turo or car sharing fleet, or you're wanting to get in the automotive space, you must, under no exception, understand depreciation. But I truly think that this is a lesson that everybody in America should be learning as well, because unfortunately, in most parts of the country, having a car is a requirement, but losing a bunch of money on that car purchase shouldn't be. Number 6 is to understand tax deductions, but to also understand the nuance of tax deductions and that not all purchases are worth the deduction. Tax deductions and lowering your taxable income is an incredible wealth building tool. However, I think a lot of people first starting out in the tax deduction game, including myself when I first started, sometimes don't understand the nuance of a deduction. For example, if you are somebody who has a business that's making $70,000 per year and your deductions are now sitting at $75,000 per year because of just miscellaneous business operational expenses, then you are someone who should not, at least in that current tax year, be buying any other investments or purchases under the guise of a tax deduction. Because once you have deductions that surpass your taxable income, really everything from there on out is sort of a moot point. Under the same line of thinking, in order for a tax deduction to be beneficial, you would have had to have a profitable business. Sure, tax deductions can make a profitable business unprofitable on paper, but if you have a business that is actually losing you money and isn't cash flowing, then tax deductions aren't something that you should even be thinking about. Instead, knowing when to time purchases based on when deductions are needed, particularly with businesses that make money or with W-2 earners that make a lot of money. For example, my rental property last year, which is a short-term rental, is actually in the red, but it's a great tax deduction. Or a great strategy is getting a Turo car or two if you're someone who makes a lot for your W-2, because doing so will lower your taxable income due to the deductions that come with a business vehicle purchase. Strategic purchasing can be a game changer, but if not used properly, it can be a major waste. And last but not least is number 7, which is sometimes you just have to get yourself through it with brute force. I personally love figuring out how to do things more efficiently, and I spent many years of my life, particularly in my early 20s, trying to figure out what the secret sauce was to just get more done in a day. Whether it was buying fancy software or biohacking to find some nootropic or fancy smart supplement to help me work better and more efficiently. And while over the years I have found some tips and tricks that absolutely do help, I have also learned as I've gotten older that the reality of the situation is most of your work is just going to have to get done, and the fancy software or supplement isn't going to get it done for you. And this oftentimes means that you have to work whenever you're tired, you're sad, or you just don't feel like doing it. And that's okay. There isn't a magic pill or switch, and oftentimes getting to where you want to go is about showing up more consistently than everyone else and doing that unsexy work more than everyone else, even whenever you don't feel like it. I have a vlog channel with my husband HP, and sometimes I get asked why I don't do more vlogs personally, and the truth is because it would be the most boring video ever. Even on my husband's channel, where we show him dealing with stolen cars or buying new vehicles or doing something fun, it's things that we kind of segmented out for that video. Because even for him, someone who only posts 4 videos per month, it's challenging to find 4 things per month that are worth talking about because our day-to-day work isn't exciting. I like my work, I find it interesting and fulfilling, but it certainly isn't sexy, and it definitely wouldn't be interesting to somebody watching me do it 12 hours per day. And I think that this is part of the problem with entrepreneurship in 2025 is that TV shows and movies make it seem a lot more exciting than it actually is. And whenever somebody actually sits down to do it, they realize that it just isn't what it's chalked up to be. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.